Hey everyone, this is Juan Trevino welcoming you back to another Shard System art video. Today, at the request of YouTube follower Jacq Fruit, I'm drawing Kim Taeyeon from Korean girl group Girls' Generation. If you all have any suggestions for future videos, let me know in the comments. I want to apologize for being a week late with this video. I posted about it on Instagram, but for those of you who didn't get to see, I've been extremely busy with world building for a card game, creating characters, writing events, establishing locations, basically making the world of two robots as detailed and complex as our own. By the way, this is not a sponsored video. I'm just mentioning the game because the two guys I'm in contact with have been working day and night to make this the best thing possible. And this kind of effort could always use some more attention. If you want to know more about the game, you can check us out at 2robots.io or look us up on Instagram or Facebook under 2robots Inc. I'm gonna be honest with you all, I don't know much about K-pop. Certainly not enough to talk about it for an entire video, but I see a lot of YouTubers I follow somehow find their footing on a topic and just go off. Of course, I could have just recorded an introduction before cutting to some royalty-free music, but I wouldn't be gaining anything from that. I wouldn't be growing or finding my voice. So I thought about this for a while, a long while, too long a while, and eventually decided that I could just talk about my journey with music after I was done giving my thoughts on the creative process. I'll let you all decide whether it was worth the wait. Maybe you all could give me topics for these portrait videos. I honestly wouldn't mind talking about whatever you all want to hear about. I'm gonna start off by mentioning the elephant in the room. The head ended up being much wider than it's supposed to be. I think the way I positioned her hand is what threw me off, but by the time I realized this, I didn't want to erase what I already had. Another thing is, I erased those eyes way too many times, but honestly, I wish I could have done it just one more time to shift them a little lower. In the photo, she's facing down slightly, and I don't think I got that in the drawing at all. But regardless of these mistakes, I still think everything came out nicely for what it was. I'd recently stumbled across yet another hand tutorial where the artist draws a block for the palm before adding rods for the fingers. A lot of people do this, it seems, so I went for it, and I was surprised at how much easier it was to get her hand on paper, and with good proportions too. I'm going to be practicing this method a lot more from now on. Also, I was expecting to have a hard time with her hair, but by breaking up the long flowing lines into smaller segments, I was able to get it done cleanly and still get the flow of all the loose strands and swoops. There's not much else to say about the piece for a good while, so I guess it's music time. I don't think I've ever taken the time to think about how I got into music until now. Sure, I remember when I got into it, but it's a different thing to know exactly what set the foundation and why. Some people might have been exposed to a genre by their best friend or an older sibling, or maybe they latched onto a song during a bad time. The more I looked into it, I realized my taste must have been set during a very early phase in my life, from a scene I didn't expect as I was going into this. You see, I grew up in one of those fire and brimstone churches, and while I'm sure baby me didn't appreciate the atmosphere, I eventually got used to loud. In fact, at some point, I actually started looking forward to the part of the service when the music would hit 10 and the preacher's voice would somehow go up to 11. I didn't know what was going on at that age, and I never really tried to. The only thing that mattered to me was all the noise, and how it made my chest feel like it was about to burst. Yeah, it could get pretty intense. That's the one thing that stayed with me from then, and I've looked for that same intensity whenever I look for new music. It wasn't until I got to the 7th grade that I realized there was an entire world of awesome music out there. My art teacher would let us listen to the radio while we worked on our sketchbook assignments, and that's where I first heard In the End by Linkin Park. Almost every day after that, the class would choose between either the rock or the R&B station. So I got to fall in love with Alicia Keys, Evanescence, the All-American Rejects, Nickelback, and a few others. Their lyrics sounded so genuine to me then, and I kept them with me as I entered high school. By the time I was a sophomore, I had heard the song Clocks about 100 times, and I finally searched up the group that sang it. Coldplay became one of my favorites, and even now, I can listen to anything before Viva La Vida just to calm myself down when I'm stressed. At around the same time, I started looking into the music a cousin of mine had introduced me 2 years before. I even made a playlist on YouTube with every music video I could find of the songs we had listened to together. When I need to get my heart pumping, System of a Down's Hypnotize and Mesmerize are still my go-to albums. I remember having my mind blown when I realized they were meant to be listened to back to back. Quick pause on the music talk to let you all know, if you don't already, that trying to smooth out the shading on your piece with an eraser is not a very good idea. Then again, maybe I just did it wrong. Either way, I felt it could have looked better. Just use one of those rolled up paper smudgy things if you have one. Another thing I'd like to mention is that the pencil I'm using to darken the lines is Winsor & Newton brand. I had mentioned this in the Jungkook portrait video, but I figured I'd mention it here again since I know not everyone may be up for watching that half-hour-long video. The set was gifted to me by a good friend, and I hope I can learn to use these pencils to their fullest potential. The rest of the video is just me darkening everything. In junior year, a friend of mine introduced me to Cancer by My Chemical Romance, and I liked it, but when I looked up the rest of their music, they had a completely different sound. It didn't stop me from following them until their breakup though. Senior year is when I got into some more unexpected genres. Steampunk, dark cabaret, experimental folk, punk stuff. I don't know. Abney Park had a nice industrial vibe with songs about time travel and general science fiction stuff. Steam Powered Giraffe experimented with so many different styles, which made sense story-wise as the singers are supposed to be robots built in 1896, and they would have lived through those eras where different kinds of music became popular. Jason Webley is kind of out there with a surreal, creepy sound and an accordion. To wrap this up, the music I listened to in college was just a mix of everything I've mentioned, depending on whatever I was feeling that day. And after I graduated, I settled into more of a calm, grungy mood with Turnover, Movements, and Citizen. I don't know what it is about them. They're still intense, but it's a lot quieter than other stuff I've heard. I guess I've mellowed out over the years. I really like to keep my library fresh, so if you have any music you think I would like, let me know about it. Last second announcements, the collab I mentioned is on its way and I can't wait to show you all the video. Also, I want to give a shout out to fellow artist Andre, who started up their own channel. He's been around since the Zabio Arts video, following me on Instagram and commenting on all of my stuff. When he let me know he was going to start posting art videos, you bet I was going to mention it here. There's a link to his channel and Instagram in the description. I want the community to grow, so don't be shy about asking for a shout out. Message me and I'll do my part in getting your name out there. After all, artists should be supporting the growth of other artists. If you have any comments, questions, or constructive criticism, leave them below or send me a message. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have an awesome day. Bye for now.